Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Wellness Wednesday. I'm Alicia Lynn Diaz, the creator of the Soul of Healing Summit and the Enlightened Body System, and it's such my pleasure to be here with you today. So today we're going to dive into the two questions that were submitted for this week around emotions. And Sue from Chicago, Illinois writes that she'd like to learn more about the role of hidden emotions in relationship to health and learn how to be emotional in a productive way. And then Brenda from Chico, California writes, in regards to what Sue mentioned on emotions, I would love to know some techniques to process emotions. Grief and sadness have been two emotions that I have not been able to completely work through and that feel stuck in my body. Grief from the death of family members, as well as the grief of the health I once had. Also grief of the life I once envisioned for myself. I feel this grief and sadness as a heaviness in my body weighing me down. How does one make peace with this in order to move forward and heal? So first, I just deeply honor the two of you. Thank you so much for writing in, for sharing a little bit of your story, and for asking such an important question to our whole tribe. So let's dive in for a moment just on this role of hidden emotions. How does it relate to health, and why does this happen in the first place? So one of my mentors used to say, Dr. Vasant Lad, that matter is frozen consciousness. So matter, what we know as physical matter, is a condensed form of energy. And so when an emotional experience arises in the body, it's an energetic, it's more subtle experience in the body. So when an emotion comes up because of something that happens in the external environment that our nervous system either isn't prepared for or hasn't learned how to move that energy through the body in a productive way, what happens is it gets stuck. It gets stuck and it crystallizes into the tissues. Now, I could go through the whole map of how ancient Ayurvedic medicine or Chinese medicine looks at various emotions and how different organs are affected, such as, the lungs can tend to be a tissue that harbors grief, or the liver can tend to be an organ that harbors anger, rage, or resentment. So if that hasn't been released out of the body from some traumatic event that happened, and it doesn't have to be a massive trauma, it's just anything that the nervous system experienced that it didn't know how to deal with at that time. And there's two reasons why we don't release that emotion. I'll go into those in a second. But basically, then these organs store these different emotions in them and have a tendency to store them, which then impacts digestion poorly and impacts metabolism poorly and can create tension in the nervous system, and fear gets stuck in the kidneys and the adrenal glands, so that causes reduced fatigue and reduced energy and exhaustion, and creates more hormones released in the body that cortisol and other neurochemicals that make you feel stressed out, and this downward cycle continues. And we all know that that level of stress contributes to all ailments on all levels, because when the body is in a state of heightened stress response, we can't rest, relax, and repair. And the only way that you can heal and rest and relax and repair and digest is if the body shifts modes into ease. And so I'll share with you at the end of this video a live training that I'm going to do next week that goes really deep into all these principles, and you can meet me there live, and we're going to unravel how to digest emotions and heal your gut. So how this specifically is connected to the digestive system. But let's go back to those two things. So why, when something happens in our environment that causes an emotional triggered response. Why do the emotions then get stuck? Well, there's kind of two things happening. One, there's a lack of permission. So in our society, we actually aren't taught, as when you were growing up, you weren't taught, most of us weren't taught how to healthily move emotions. We learned from seeing in our environment how emotions were projected onto each other and how they hurt someone else or hurt the person. So we learned that emotions are bad, wrong, painful, and should be held within. So there's a lack of permission that your subconscious mind isn't giving your body and your nervous system and your emotions to release them healthily. And then two is there's a lack of understanding. There's a lack of, and I actually drew this out for you before we hopped on our Wellness Wednesday, but hopefully you can see this. Okay. So when we see an object, this object such as this flower enters into our eyes and it is digested by the mind. So this is a very, very simplified version of this graph, but basically we see something, we experience something, we witness something, it comes in, and now it goes through this sorting process. And this is a whole thing that I could extrapolate out, but I'm going to keep it simple. There's our meaning maker. So this little symbol just represents the part of our mind that interprets and makes meaning out of what we see. So this is like, okay, I learned that this image and this shape, this is a flower, this equals flower. Flower is pleasant, flower equals fragrance, flower equals beauty. I feel good about flower, right? Now, if you see something else, now your meaning maker says, oh no, that's not good. That equals pain. Someone acts in this way or says something like this to me, even if they didn't mean it that way, I get triggered into a different response. So where that comes in is this flame. This is the flame of the intelligence. So the intelligence, the flame of your body's inner intelligence actually decides and creates this sorting, decides whether it's going to be able to transmute a circumstance, an experience, a traumatic event, whatever the case may be, and it either is going to be able to digest it properly and turn it into the truth, the ultimate truth, where it's neutral in the system, it doesn't get stuck, or it's going to not be able to understand. This is what we're talking about with understanding. If there's a lack of understanding, deep understanding in the intelligence of the body, then it creates a distortion. And the distorted field on the energy level of the body, on the mind level of the body, creates disorder in the physical body. So what does this mean now, to you and your healing and your health? Well, there's three phases, or what should we say, what does this mean to you in terms of what do you do about it? Okay, so I get that, I'm perceiving these external things in my environment and I'm interpreting them through the faculties. You're kind of we're all seeing the world through a lens. And it's we're going to see the world either through circus mirrors, right? Like those circus mirrors that are all distorted and wobbly, and we're going to see ourselves in those distorted ways, and we're going to see others in those distorted ways based on our past pain, trauma, grief, sadness, hurt. Or we're going to see it through the lens of truth, through the eyes of truth, which ultimately keeps all the energy channels flowing and doesn't allow this to crystallize into the tissues. A perfect example of this is my own personal journey, where I had experienced panic attacks and anxiety for years of my life. I was very high functioning. No one knew that was going on for me. Like, I was super ambitious and I was very positive and optimistic, and I was just go, 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 go. But inside, my nervous system was constantly like tight and strung out, and I started getting intense digestive problems and irritable bowel syndrome and headaches and all these like chronic things that none of my doctors could figure out. And I was just in excruciating pain all the time. And part of what I got to experience in going really, really deep into the work and into the process that I'm going to share with you today, the 3-phase process, is I learned how to unravel my nervous system. I learned how to create a deep experience of calm and peace inside of the nervous system. I learned how to activate this intelligence and really transmute all of the pain and the emotions of traumas that had happened to me as a child that I repressed. I didn't even remember. But my nervous system learned how to move the emotions through in a healthy way and learned how to stop fighting and flighting and running away and freezing and turning me into numbness and stop waking me up in the middle of the night with panic attacks because I was suffering for so many years. So the 3 phases that I'm going to share with you right now are the thing that actually turned it all around for me and helped me learn and take my power back so I could digest my food again. I could eat all the things that I couldn't eat, that I was completely restricted from. I could count on one hand how many things my safe foods to eat, and then I still had symptoms. So, it was tremendously freeing. I was able to heal myself from these digestive disorders, these migraines, and these reproductive issues that none of my doctors could figure out, and basically told me, well, you're going to have to take this medication for the rest of your life. So it's really my greatest honor to share these 3 phases with you today. And one other story outside of my own is one of the women that went through the Enlightened Body System, which is the deep dive 90-day immersion program that takes you through the 3 phases that I'm going to share with you right now. But she went through the whole program and she was able to clear things inside of her mind and emotions as well, that she wasn't able to do before. Even with practicing Ayurvedic principles and doing all these healthy things, she was able to sustainably fully detox her body from psych meds and a lot of the trauma that had happened in her nervous system, and she was able to fully come off of them and feel so grounded and whole unto herself, feel confident in her body again. And so it's just these 3 phases that I'm about to share with you. I just want you to know that it's possible for you. So even just as we pause here for a moment, take a deep breath in and imagine what your life would be like, being able to heal and free yourself from those emotional patterns that keep you stuck in your body. Imagine how your organs would feel if you could release what they've been holding on to. Like, what would that do for your life? What would that do for your health? And so let me show you the 3 phases. So phase 1, and hopefully I'm just going to show you we're going to just draw this out really quick, and I'll go deeper into it in the training next week. But basically the 3 phases are, first you want to awaken. So when I talked about that flame, that intelligence, we want to awaken and activate the cellular intelligence. And that looks like a few different things. There are very specific practices to do to deeply support and nourish the nervous system, to prime the nervous system so the nervous system feels safe enough to go into phase 2. The safety of your nervous system is key. You can't actually release these emotions until your physiology feels safe enough to do it. Okay? Phase 2 is clear. So once you've activated the cellular intelligence and you've created enough safety in your nervous system and in your body, then you can actually clear. Now you can actually eradicate those emotional patterns that have been keeping you sick and stuck. And you can excavate those and release them with quite a lot of ease and grace as long as step one is done properly. I can't stress this enough because I see so many people trying to go just release the grief, the sadness, release the pain, the suffering, release the rage, and they actually throw themselves into a healing crisis. And so following these 3 phases is really, really important because this awakening phase creates the safety and then allows the emotions to be eradicated with a lot of ease and grace. And then in the next phase, then it goes to phase 3. Now you connect with that innate healing intelligence, the self-healing power that exists inside of every single one of your cells. The trauma, the emotion, is just simply blocking this innate intelligence, this power within, this healing, self-healing power within. It is just blocking it. So now you can actually connect with it. And once you connect with it, you accelerate your healing tenfold. You start to exponentially evolve, heal, and you continue the cycle so that you're continually uplifted and that you create ultimate freedom. All 3 of these phases create great freedom in the body, in the tissues, in the cells, releases that tension, releases that anxiety, and you experience deep confidence and knowing, unshakable knowing in who you really are, what you're really capable of, and walk through the world, walk through your life with ease and grace. So, thank you for joining me today. I would really love to have you for our training next week, where we're going to dive deeper into all of these things that I covered today. We're going to cover, the training is specific to gut healing. So if you're currently feeling like you're hitting a ton of dead ends with your gut health and you're having, symptoms, bloating, indigestion, constipation, diarrhea, there's an emotional and physical trigger to all of those symptoms, and we're going to dive deep into those in the training. And I'm going to show you what specifically causes digestive disorders from an emotional perspective. I'm going to go through deeper my signature 3-phase process to resolving the emotional root causes of digestive pain. And then I'm going to also show you the 2 paths to sustained gut healing, plus my step-by-step 90-day proven protocol that will take all the guesswork out of it for you so you can have a thriving gut and thriving health, because of course your gut health is connected to all other aspects of your health, so you can have a thriving gut morning to night, and you know exactly what to do from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to bed at night. For those of you who join me here live for this training, I'm going to give you a video at the end of the training that's going to show you a sneak peek, a behind the scenes of my morning to night routines for gut healing and all the things that I do that I don't share with everyone. I'm just going to give it all to you. So the name of the training is Digest Your Emotions, Heal Your Gut. The 3 steps to eradicate the repressed emotions that keep you stuck in a cycle of recurring digestive pain, so you can free your body and ultimately make a bigger difference in the world. Because I know if you're here in this conversation with me that you're likely a healer or at least a health enthusiast, and you desire to be able to support others in your world, whether that's your clients or whether it's those you love. And I want to be able to help you do that and experience the deep resolve that I've experienced and that our other members in the Enlightened Body family have experienced. So I invite you to join me for the live training. I'll put a link below this video. And thank you for joining me for this episode of Wellness Wednesday. Lots of love, and I will see you next week.